Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to Centurions Review, the punk rock band of wargame review institutions. This is Battlefleet Mars, Space Combat in the 21st Century from SPI. I think this came out around 1977. My friend Len brought this over and we tried it out, and boy is this a good game. This is one of the best space combat games I've ever played, if not the best. The first game we played, I was learning and I didn't understand some of the rules, so I was getting wailed on, so we quit that game early and started a new game. In the second game I won, but boy, this is a great game. Let's take a look through it. Typical SPI flat pack. Alright, let's take a look at the rules here. Rules are 27, well, these are just notes at the back here. The actual rules are about 23 pages, but it's not as complex as you would think. It's different than probably most or any other space combat game you played, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually a pretty easy game. There's still a few things I'm not sure on. I haven't read the rules. My friend just helped me play, but like some of the politics stuff I'm not sure on. But other than that, like the combat and stuff is pretty simple to learn. So let's page through here and see what we got. It's got goes over the world view here, and then starts with the introduction. And there's two games here. There's a strategic game and a tactical game. Both games we played the strategic game. That's where you just use a combat results table that figures like percentages when you have like mass combat to figure it out. If you play the tactical game, then you put the ships on the tactical board and you have actual ship-to-ship combat, and obviously the tactical game would take much longer to play, but the strategic game I thought was just fantastic. Alright, going over the game equipment here and what the counters mean. You can buy ships in this, and there's ship production. It takes several turns for ships to be produced and so forth. One thing you have to be careful of is if the Martians get pretty high in the politics as far as their politic level, they can roll and get things where it delays like your production and stuff if you're the Earthling, so that's a serious problem. This is Earth versus the Martians. Sequence of play starts with ship movement, then ship transit allocation phase. Alright, that's where you're showing how far your ship is from a planet. We'll get into that in a bit. And then the combat phase, and then the political interaction phase. That's kind of interesting. I'm usually not into the politics in the games, but in this one it seemed to work well, and it made the game even better. Sometimes when you add politics to a game, it either doesn't do anything to help the game or it makes it worse. In this case, it actually made it better. You have agents and stuff on different planets, and then logistics and maintenance, and planetary movement and game turn indication phase. The planets are in orbits here, and you have to move them in orbit each turn, which is really unique. I loved it. Now it's talking about how to play the strategic game and the deployment and so forth. And going over the solar system display and cometary orbits. And going over combat and morale. I won't go too deep into the rules here. Here's the agents and political power interaction. That's cool. From what I understand, Decision Games, they want to re-release this game and call it Free Mars, I believe, and Phobos Rising, the minigame they had, and Series Operation Stolen Base are like prequels to this, so still waiting for that to come out. Here's how to conduct revolts and counter revolts. And you have truces and stuff. The truce really helps the Earthlings, because generally in this game, the Earthlings are going to be able to build more ships per turn. So if a truce occurs, that really helps the Earthlings. So the Martians may want to break the truce if that happens. And here's the charts and stuff. One thing with the combat with this, you actually have to use a calculator to figure out percentages. I haven't had to use a calculator in a war game in years, but it doesn't ruin the game or anything. Actually, it's no problem at all. Here's a laser combat results table, recovery table, true distance table. Yeah, we'll go over how do you get distance in this. This is kind of cool. Sabotage, production and logistics. All right, now it goes into the tactical game. I haven't played the tactical game, so I can't give you much information on that. But if you're just playing the strategic game, it's only 16 pages of rules, and the first couple pages are just fluff. So it's like 12 or 13 pages of rules. It's not bad. All right. And here's your measuring stick. There's actually two of these that come with. You put this between whatever two planets you're going to, or if you're going from a planet to an asteroid, or an asteroid to an asteroid, and it gives you the tells you how many turns it will take to move there. So that's kind of unique. And here's where you can keep records. We didn't have to do this in the strategic game, I don't think. I think that must be for the tactical game. Alright, this is the map that you would use in the tactical game for combat. In a strategic game, you don't need to use that. Alright, here's the map. This is a unique map. This is a cool map, actually. I don't get much cooler than this. Alright, so here's the tracks that the planets and asteroids go on. And if, let's say Earth, or whatever planet you're at, Earth, Mars, whatever goes on this track, needs to go to an asteroid that's like located right there. You just measure with to see how many turns it would take to get there. So that's kind of cool. In each turn, you move the planet or asteroid one space. And then if you're moving from, let's say, from Earth to Mars, and you check with this thing here, and it says it's 3 turns, you'll put your ships here, and then on the next turn they'll move to the second band, then the first band, and then the Mars itself. And if there's any Martians there, you can have combat with them then. And cometary, trying to remember, I think you can, if you retreat, you can go into cometary orbit, which is like a big orbit where you're away from the other ships and you can hide or something. Here's a production track. This is a good ship here. This one has 4 strength points. This base here, it costs 7, but I think this one has 6 points, and this one here is down here has 3 strength points, and that has 2. And the 3 LP, I believe, is how much you have to pay for it. So if you bought this one, you'd put one on a track here, and it would take 4 turns before it becomes available. So it takes 4 turns to manufacture. And this is where you keep track of your logistics points. So if you had 12 and you bought 2 of these ships for 5, these are the catapults, then you would go down to 2. But what's good is you can keep the 2 points for the next turn. So if the next turn, if you were supposed to have 12, you'd actually get 14 then. And there's a separate track for the Martians on the other side. And let's see if we can get some of these charts in the view. This is my friend Len's game. He was nice enough to let me borrow it for the video. Yeah, it's got tactical abstract, combat results table, percentage loss table. Here's the different events that change the morale. Like if Mars controls 4 asteroids, it gets +2, or Earth will get -2, and Mars will get +2. Here's something interesting. If Earth controls Jupiter, Earth gets +1, but the Martians get -6, so it's a good idea if you're the Earthlings to take over Jupiter. And another thing that's cool about this game is in the beginning, you roll to see which asteroids and stuff are under control by the Martian rebels. So each game, it will be different, so it never starts with the same forces, so that's kind of nice. Adds plenty of replayability. And this is a political display point track here. You have one that's ×10 and one that's ×1. Wherever your ×10 one is, when you roll on the political thing, like if you roll 1 through 6, it says what happens here. And what's interesting here is when the Martians get down to 40, the 40s, like 40 through 49, if they roll a 6, it's an automatic victory for the Earthlings. Well, they call them Aries, and here I call them the Earthlings. Some of the other things that could happen is like Martian assassin attempts, because you have these different agents you place on the different planets and so forth, and they can try and assassinate each other and stuff. It's kind of cool. There's the assassination table. Here's the truce table, negotiation table, revolt table, sabotage table, initial ship deployment chart. So yeah, this is really neat. Here's the second range marker or ruler, whatever you want to call it. Here's the ones that haven't been punched out yet. Let me see if I can zoom in on these. I mean, they're 1970s counters. For 1970s, let's see the ships, that's what you're interested in. They look okay for the 1970s. My only complaint is the ships don't have their strength point written on it. I mean, there's only like 4 different types of vessels, so you can easily memorize what the strength points are. But I don't know, I just kind of like it when they do put the strength markers or any as much information as you could put on a chit. I always think it's a good thing, but it didn't hurt the game that it wasn't on there, but I would have preferred it was. And what's nice about these SPI flat packs is they include a counter tray, and it's got 2 sides to it. And you can store your dice and your counters, and then here's the planets here. There's Venus, if I can get it into focus, and Ceres, the asteroid. So, like I said, this is probably the best outer space ship combat game I've ever tried, and I don't think that, again, one thing I want to point out, this is definitely a 70s game. I couldn't picture a game like this being, let's say this was never manufactured, no one ever invented it, and someone tried releasing this game in the modern era. I just couldn't see it being released because it's too easy to play. Most of the spaceship combat games now are really complicated, and this one gives you all the fun and the amount of detail you need to get the job done, and it's easy to play. If this was released nowadays, the publishers would probably get on the author's ass and try to get them to put more detail in the game or make it more complicated. This is the right amount of complication, the right amount of detail. This is just perfect. I love this game. Anyhow, just wanted to show you guys this. Thanks for watching. If you